recently made a couple of shorts teaching you guys how to do voices from the Amazing Digital Circus, and they blew the fuck up. And with the movie coming out right around the corner, well, I guess it's probably already out by the time this video goes out, I feel like it was the perfect time to make a more longer, a more detailed, a more awesomer video on how you guys can do voices for the Amazing Digital Circus step by step. You're gonna be able to do them. Maybe, if I'm a good teacher. We'll see. First thing I want to say is I will not be covering every single character. That'd be too much. I'm only going to be doing the characters that I realistically can do and the main characters that you guys probably care the most about. Which means I unfortunately cannot do Pomni unless you want me to try and fail miserably. Anyways, let's start. Okay, so first up, we're going to start with Caine. Now, I honestly think Caine is not a difficult voice to do, but let's just listen to some clips so we can get an idea what his voice is like.
I'm your ringmaster, and I'm here to show you the most jaw-dropping, heart-stopping, mind-bending paraphernalia you've ever laid your eyes upon!
Unless there's something I'm missing, I feel like Caine just speaks in a very specific way all the time, in that very showmanshipy way, but let me teach you guys how I would do the voice. The first thing we need to do is get that kind of tone. It's kind of around here. And I find the best way you can get your voice to that tone is to imagine your voice coming out from the back of your throat, so it's kind of down here. But don't keep it there. Instead, bring it up a little bit, so it's kind of in this kind of area. Now, honestly, when your voice is around here, you pretty much got it. You just have to do one more step. That is to make everything you say sound very dramatic, very showmanshipy way, just very over the top. My voice is up here and I'm making everything sound dramatic, and now all of a sudden I sound like Caine. What's really gonna help here is to make sure you really get down his energy that he has, because he's very big over the top energy. Let's try doing some of his lines. Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus. My name is Caine and I'm your ringmaster. Isn't that right, Bubble? If you're finding it difficult to really support your voice and really making it as bombastic and big as it needs to be, try supporting your voice from your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is around your stomach area. Just imagine yourself supporting yourself from there. So if my voice is in the back of the throat and up here, I'm using my diaphragm to give myself more boost to it and more stuff to it. When you put that all together, you pretty much get the Caine voice. To review, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take our voice, put it in the back of the throat, but bring it up a bit so we get this tone. And then we're gonna make everything so much bigger than it needs to be and dramatize, make things low, make things high, make things crazy. And then you pretty much got the voice. Also, support from your diaphragm when you need it. So next up, we have Kinger. Now this voice, I'm gonna be completely honest, is kind of tough to do. And that's possibly because it sounds similar to the actor's original tone. And when it's their natural tone, it can be a little harder to replicate because it's not a super distinct one, if that makes sense. But I can try my best, so let's take a listen.
Boy, we're not very good at this, are we?
What happened?
I just remembered a really funny joke.
Okay, so for Kinger's voice, the first thing we want to do is put our voice also a little bit in the back of the throat, but not all the way back here, just like a little bit. So do the same exact thing as we did with Caine, where you kind of imagine your voice starting from the back of the throat, so it has this kind of texture and tone to it. Now when you're back there, you want to lift your voice up and try to find the area where your voice kind of goes into a falsetto. Now the thing is, obviously Kinger doesn't talk like that all the time, but as you can see in a lot of clips, he does go to that area, so we want to find a spot in our voice where it's so easy for us to access that. So for me, it's kind of like around here, so it's like still in the back of the throat, but then I can go up and I add this little bit of a falsetto. If that's hard for you to do, I recommend just taking time and just practicing that part specifically. Now, even though I'd say we have a pretty good Kinger voice right there, but what really sells it is that if we channel the character's energy. And what I mean by that is that as he's talking, I'm sure you guys notice that he sounds kind of clueless sometimes. He sounds like he's got a little bit of goofy energy to him, but it's not like he's trying to be goofy. You know what I mean, right? It's almost like as he's talking, he's discovering something every time he says something. So when you put all of that together, it'll sound something like this. Well, I just remembered a really funny joke. I'm starting to think, boy, we're not very good at this, are we? I will say this voice is kind of hard to replicate. Like I can't even get there that accurately, but if you can, that's amazing. So don't beat yourself up if you can't get it, because it's difficult. But I do think that if you do all those steps, you'll get somewhat close to a Kinger voice. Next up, we have what probably a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and that's Jax. Now, this one is similar to Kinger in the way that I think it's the actor's natural tone, which means it's gonna be harder to replicate it. But there are tricks we can do to get us sounding pretty close to the way Jax speaks. Let's take a listen to his voice first.
This is a new sucker.
Because if it's a new character, we're gonna have to redo this whole theme song.
So when it comes to doing Jax's voice, there's immediately one thing that jumps out at me when it comes to trying to attempt it. And that's how aloof and how carefree he sounds about everything. Which means when you're talking, you just want to sound like you don't really care or you have better things to do, that kind of thing. I don't want to sound like he's tired or anything because that's not the way it's going. He still has some energy in there. Something else I'm noticing is that when he talks, it's a little bit breathy. Not like this much breathy, but just a little bit. Like it has some exaggeration. It sounds like it only really happens when he's being very sarcastic. Now, when you put those two things together, you kind of already get like Jax's voice. But there is one trick that'll tie everything together and I think get you the most accurate possible Jax impression ever. And that's getting his speech pattern down. Now, in a lot of his dialogue, especially when he's sarcastic, he usually starts up high, but then he lets the sentence trail off a bit. So basically, as you're up here, you're very breathy, but as you let the sentence trail off, you get a lot less breathy. Now, if we put all of those steps together, we'll get something like this. Because if it's a new character, we're gonna have to redo this whole theme song. Have I ever told you it's my dream to get eaten by you? I really hope you're taking note that as I'm saying the sentence, you can hear my voice trail off and I lose that breathiness. That's what's really gonna sell the sarcastic Jax moments that everyone knows and loves. But the most important thing you need to do now is practice. Unless you're really lucky, you're not gonna get any of these voices right the first time, because that didn't happen to me. I had to practice to learn all of these voices. So really take your time and go through each of the steps I took, and I assure you, you will probably nail at least some of these voices. I believe in you. Anyways, the movie is coming out soon, and I have to go watch the show because I haven't even seen the show myself yet. That's my confession. Anyways, bye.